Very good afternoon, students. So, after a long time, we are back again in our favorite terrain, that is the story A Tale of Two Cities. And here we will proceed what happens with those facts that will tell us what happens with Charles Darnay, Miss Lucy, Dr. Manatee, and all those other characters who are intricately related to this story. So here we will begin our chapter 5, that is two promises. So here let's read what are those promises and what happens with those promises. A year later, Mr. Charles Darnay had prospered as a reputable teacher of the French language and French literature. So that Charles Darnay, who relinquished his ancestral rights, all the wealth he owed, especially from that cruel uncle who had a whole chateau, who was a fairly prosperous man, a man of repute and power in France. Darnay, he relinquished everything. He sacrificed everything for the sake of Miss Lucy, of course. He was there. He wanted to live with Miss Lucy. He wanted to live closer to her. He wanted to prosper. He wanted to carry on the relationship that began with Miss Lucy. So now this is Charles Darnay. He is now a reputed teacher of literature and language. My God, excellent thing. And an excellent tutor and elegant translator. Young Mr. Darnay soon became known and encouraged. So many people, they encouraged him to carry on whatever he was doing, and he became a name in the locality where he was staying, in the locality where he was teaching, to those students whom he was teaching. Among them, he became really someone who is very famous and very respected. A certain portion of his time was passed at Cambridge. The rest of his time he passed in London. So Charles Darnay had loved Lucy Manatee from the hour of his trial. Right from that trial, in that court, from that hour, Charles Darnay, he loved Miss Lucy Manatee and wanted to marry her. So it was on a summer day when he turned into a quiet corner in Soho. Yes, Soho Square was a very quiet area. There was no such hubbub of the city, no such clamor of the city, no such din of the city. It was a very space. So, bent on speaking with Dr. Manatee about Lucy. So he determined to speak with Dr. Manatee about Lucy and about their relationship. He wanted to marry Lucy, and that's the particular subject, that's the particular topic he wanted to discuss with Lucy's father, that is Dr. Manatee. He knew Lucy was out with Miss Pross, and that is the reason he went there, in order to have a personal chat with Dr. Manatee about Lucy. He found the doctor and spoke to him. The doctor had recovered his strength and energy, because he had spent a lot of time in the prison, La Force. There he spent years after years, and he spent there rigorous imprisonment. That's why his health was really very fragile when he was discovered, when he was found in that attic that belonged to the wine shop owner, Mr. Difford's. From there he was rescued by Miss Manatee with the help of Mr. Lorry, and they are now living there in England, in Soho Square. Now Dr. Manatee has revived. He is less concerned. He has got back his lost daughter, and there is a beautiful life which he is leading. That's why he was reviving day and day, day after day, and day by day. He was continuously reviving. Sorry. Yes. So, and now greeted Charles Darnay joyfully. He was happy to have Darnay back with him. He was happy to continue discussion with Darnay, happy to be with Darnay, because he also liked him, because Darnay was such an agreeable person, a person with whom anyone would like to have relationship, would like to be acquainted with, would like to continue discussions. That kind of person was Darnay. He was a particular sort of tasteful and elegant and gracious and acceptable personality he had. And that's the reason particularly. And of course he was an honest man. And that is the reason particularly Dr. Manethy was really, he really favored Charles Darnay. He would like to have conversation with him. He would like to be acquainted with him, like to spend time with him. Because Darnay was such a personality with whom spending time, you will feel as if I had spent some time which is really worth something. That is the particular reason Darnay was so craved for, so longed for. Now when the doctor heard that Darnay loved his daughter, he believed him. Yes, I told you, he believed him because he knew that Darnay was a man of his word. That is the particular reason he believed him, but was saddened. But at the same time he was saddened that, my God, this is the time that I have to part with my dear daughter. Barely I have recovered. I have found her again. And now it is time that she will be married and I will have to live alone. Still, Darnay assured him that he did not know how Lucy felt and that he would do nothing that would make it difficult for Lucy or her father. Darnay also told him that I don't know what kind of thoughts are there inside Lucy's mind, whether she will agree to my proposal or not, but I won't do anything that will make you trouble, that will trouble you. I won't do anything like that. You be assured. So after assuring Miss Lucy's father, Darnay left. See, Dr. Manethy declared that he knew nothing of nothing of what lay in Lucy's heart, because Dr. Manethy recently got back his daughter. He could not spend time with her. She could barely know what kind of thoughts are brimming inside Miss Lucy, because this is the first time since her birth Dr. Manethy is spending time with his own daughter. He could not spend time with her when she was a child. And she had no other way to know what kind of personality is his daughter. That's why he is telling that I don't know what kind of thing is being felt by Lucy Manethy, my own daughter. But you give time, you take time, and then you proceed. So Darnay offered to reveal his true name to gain his confidence further. So Darnay thought that, okay, this man is believing me, let me tell him something that will really help him to believe me more firmly. So then he disclosed his own identity, that you know what, let me tell you something, that because I don't want to hide anything from you, Darnay is not my real name, my name is something else, my surname is something else, that is Marquis. I belong to that family which was scared, which was a kind of formidable family in France. People did not like to be acquainted with my family, because that kind of reputation they had, a reputation of terror and torture, ruthless terror and torture. Later you will get to know all these facts. So, but the doctor forbade him to do so, till Lucy had accepted him. But after knowing this, doctor told him that you don't tell it to Miss Lucy right now. He might refuse you. So unless you marry him, you don't disclose it to her. Darnay offered, on the same night, Mr. Stryver declared to Carton that he intended to marry Miss Manethy. However, after confiding in Miss Laurie and taking his advice, he changed his mind about marrying her. So there was another person who would also like to marry Miss Lucy Manethy, and that was Mr. Stryver. Mr. Stryver. And he told it to Sidney Carton, who was exactly, the facsimile copy of Charles Darnay. He told him that I would like to marry Lucy Manethy. But then they confided with Mr. Lorry, and Mr. Lorry knew everything and he told him not to do so. He advised him not to do so, and he retracted. Then what happened? Sidney Carton used to visit Dr. Manethi's house quite often, and had always been the same moody and morose lounger there, never really shining anywhere. Yes, of course, he was visibly negative force. Every single step and every single aspect of his life was completely pessimistic. He was not such a person with whom you would feel a kind of encouraged, or you will feel optimistic. He is the particular source of pessimism. If you spend time with him, you will be discouraged at every step. So he was same like that. As he was during the trial, he is now exactly the same way. When he cared to talk, he talked well, else he brooded and drank. Yes, sometimes he used to talk well in an agreeable sort of manner, but in other times, and most of the time actually, majority of the time, he used to say something that is discouraging, that is disappointing, that is pessimistic. So he had a certain pessimistic attitude towards life, negative, discouraged, disillusioned attitude towards life. And that he used to express with everyone. That is why he used to stay alone. People used to avoid him a lot. On that day in August, when Mr. Stryver told him he had thought better of that marrying matter, Sidney's feet, animated by purpose and intention, found their way to the doctor's door. So right on the day when Stryver told him that I want to marry Miss Lucy, he felt a certain urge to visit Lucy Manethy right at that time. Because you know what? There was a subdued love dormant in Sidney Carton's mind too. He used to love Lucy Manethy clandestinely, secretly. That's why whenever he heard that Stryver wants to marry Lucy, right then he visited Lucy. He reached their home. He was shown upstairs and found Lucy at her work, alone. Lucy was there. Looking up at his face, he observed a change in it and commented that he looked unwell. Lucy looked at him and told him that, what's wrong with you? Are you concerned? Has anything happened with you? You are looking unwell. Sidney was in a melancholic, mellow, sad mood, alienated, sad, disappointed, crestfallen mood, and in the course of conversation told her that he could not change his life and that he did not wish she should ever grace his life, even if she ever might want to. Now that Sidney Carton is telling that, you know, Lucy, I cannot change my life. I am an incorrigible person. I cannot correct myself. But you better not involve with me, especially a kind of person like me. It is better you stay alone. He was just emitting, he was he was expressing all those things which was pent up. Those pent up emotion was getting released in the fit of drunkenness. And now he could not suppress those feelings anymore, and now he is releasing. And those feelings are getting released uncontrollably without any control. And that's why Sidney Carton is telling all those things that, you, Lucy Manethy, you know what? It is better you keep away from me. And a person like me, I am no good. I am good for nothing. I am just a disillusion. I am just something which everyone should repent. And I cannot correct myself. I tried a lot, but every single time I fell. I am incorrigible. That's what he is telling. He is actually releasing all that pent-up emotion which was there dormant, suppressed in his mind for Lucy Manethy. He told her that she and her father had made him remorseful about his own dissolute life, and the more I see you and your father living a happy life, the more I become more disillusioned. It pains me to see you lead such a beautiful life and me leading such a wasteful life. But their affection had renewed a flame in his heart that was now burning in him out. But you know what? The way you accepted me, and the kind of person like me who is good for nothing, the way you have accepted me, you have given me place in your family, you have adored me, the way you behaved with me, it was never done by anybody. And I am really grateful to all of you, especially you and your father. I am grateful to you that you have accepted me, given me chance to be treated like a simple and perfect and a normal person. All other people, they don't treat me like that, but you treated me like a normal person. And I am grateful to you. He told her to remember him kindly, keep him in her heart always, and that he would give his life to keep her happy with the one she loved. And at last he told her that you please count me every time. Whenever you will feel any kind of problem, I will be there with you. And please, I beseech you, I am requesting you earnestly, please don't forget me. Because remember one thing, I, Sidney Carton, I will be there standing by your side even when you are there in danger. And if it needs, if the circumstance needs it, requires it, then my life will be there for your betterment. This is the promise. Remember one thing, once you read the whole story, the last chapter, you will see that Sidney Carton will keep that promise. He will sacrifice his own life for the sake of Lucy's happiness, her betterment. And especially so that she can stay with the person whom she loves. For her future, for her happiness. This Sidney Carton will sacrifice his life at the end of the last chapter. And here in the 5th chapter he is making the promise, and in the last chapter he will fulfill it. Finally Sidney said farewell, God bless you, and left Lucy. After bidding him goodbye, Sidney Carton left for good. He will leave, but again you will see him back after Lucy's marriage, because he could not. He would be completely a failure in order to refrain himself from Lucy's life, because his love for Lucy was equally deep the way Charles Darnell loves Lucy. But this person was a little bit introvert, he could not express it. And more than anything else, he was a kind of person with whom there is a little chance like a girl, for a girl like Lucy to accept his proposal, because he used to lead a life which had no meaning, completely discipline-less life, a life that is rarely admired. That kind of life he used to live, and he knew that for a person like me, it is completely impossible for a person like me to propose Lucy and expect something positive, something affirmative from her. That's why he could not tell it, but still it was there, present in his heart. And he was ready to sacrifice his life for the sake of Lucy, and he found it the only way through which he can atone all his wrongs. That was there inside his mind, that if I can sacrifice my life for Lucy and the girl like Lucy, then only I can atone for all the wrongs which I had done previously. That's the particular day, that's the particular opportunity he was waiting for. And he will prove that he is a man of his word, not just a drunkard, not just a man who always talks a pessimistic way. But again, if you dig deeper, if you cover all these inessential things that generally characterizes him, if you sweep it over, and then in the deeper you can find a heart which is as pure as gold. Last chapter will prove it, and will definitely prove it. You will get to know it. Till then, you just revise the whole chapter and you tell me what you felt about this thing, what is your ideas, whatever, anything that comes in your mind. You don't hesitate conveying it to me. Do it. We will have a greater discussion about that. Okay? So till then, let's call it a day. Tata Studios.